before we get out of here, as we've been doing every week, the snake draft of the week. And we decided that in honor of the arguments that are absolutely asinine about quarterbacks and who should be drafted where and all of these things people are yelling at, we decided we would do a snake draft with the number 1 overall picks in the NFL draft all time. So all time being the modern Super Bowl era, which Frank knew right off the top of his head was 1966. I feel like that's a little bit like Frank knowing, Bucko Bruce,
man. Come on.
I'm going
to send you a shirt. You're going to be wearing like a Bucko Bruce shirt next show.
If it's creamsicle, I'll wear that thing all day long, though. Did you eat creamsicles as a kid?
A little bit.
I still like creamsicles as an adult. Really? They make sugar-free ones.
You had like 48 pieces of sushi last night, too. We haven't talked about this.
Look, you're right. I sat down at this place. Look, we'll get to the snake draft in a second. Calm your britches. I went to the sushi table, right? Like the little bar area.
Yeah, the bar area.
I sit down. And, of course, I order a Diet Coke. And I'm trying this new thing, like with my fitness regimen right now. I've sort of given up some alcohol for a while. So I just order a Diet Coke. And so then she walks up a minute later, hadn't given me a menu, and was like, "Do you know what you want?" And I'm like, "No, I need to see the menu if you don't mind." So she begrudgingly sets it down. So there was shock and awe on the faces of the sashimi chefs or the sushi chefs in front of me when I just looked up and I was like, "Yeah, this deluxe sashimi platter, I'm going to have it. Just no octopus. I don't like octopus."
It's for like 4 people, right? Like this is like the deluxe
24
platter.
24 pieces is like normal for me. Like that's it's just a sashimi. There's no rice with it. Like I got a little cup of side rice, but it's just raw fish. Pounding protein here, buddy. Like I'm getting yolk.
Sure.
So I'm pounding my protein and I'm literally looking at these 2 chefs. And they're speaking to each other in Japanese. I can't understand any of it. And they're laughing. And I'm like, I can't tell if they're laughing at me or if they're... And so I finished all 24 pieces. And in an astounding amount of time, I was hungry. And so next thing you know, I hear this, boom, and it's a plate in front of me. And he's like, "You looked hungry. I thought you might want some more." And I was like, yeah. And it was all the salmon and tuna. It was all the good goods. It was 10 more pieces. So I ate the 10 more pieces, which has me up to 34. And then next thing you know, he was like, "Compliments." And he set it down. And it was a spicy crab mango avocado piece that was like, ooh. It was a roll. Oh, I don't usually go roll, but I don't like all the sauces and everything because like that's extra calories I don't need. Man, I made it rain on that sushi place. Like, look, I once went to an all-you-can-eat sashimi place that had the little plates in LA, and they actually asked me to leave. So I'm just letting you know, I can house some sushi. I can house some sashimi. All right. In the meantime, let's get back to the snake draft. So we're looking just at top overall picks in the NFL draft in the modern Super Bowl era. Frank, do you want to go first or second?
I believe since I destroyed you last week with the top championship games of all time, I will concede the first pick to you this week. I had the first pick last week. Then you screwed up the second, third pick. So
yeah, I did screw up the second and third picks.
Only fair that I give you the first pick.
So I'm going to use a little bit of recency bias. I'm going to forget about all the old players for a minute, and I'm going to go with a player that I think we can all argue all day long, but top 2 quarterback in the history of the NFL. I will go with Peyton Manning as the best number 1 overall pick. It was close for me. But I will give that to Peyton Manning. Super Bowls with multiple organizations and changed the way football was viewed in the entire state of Indiana. We forget sometimes Indiana's a basketball state that was really indifferent to the Colts for many years. Peyton Manning changed that. Also, just the cultural phenomenon he's become, the way he's impacted the game, the way he's impacted society. Peyton Manning with the first overall pick.
Yeah, we played that whole game we talked about before where it was like Ryan Leaf maybe is the best player. No, Peyton Manning lived up to the hype. That's a great pick by the Colts, great pick by you. I'm going to also stay in the quarterback realm here. Go with John Elway. It might not have worked out.
Second.
Yeah, it might not have worked out so well for the Baltimore Colts, but it worked out great for the Denver Broncos, who traded for John Elway right after the draft when he refused to play for the Colts, threatened to go play baseball with the Yankees. Worked out okay at Denver. You talk about a guy who, I don't know if he saved the franchise here, but he basically embodied the franchise. He is Mr. Bronco. Later won a Super Bowl as a general manager. People like to dunk on Elway for how bad. No, he built the Super Bowl champion here as a general manager too. So just an absolute home run John Elway was as a first pick. Another guy who was hyped at every single turn and lived up to it. John Elway, just one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. I absolutely love him. With my second number 1 overall pick of all time, I'll go Bruce Smith. I mean, you need a pass rusher, right? And there was nobody better than Bruce, except maybe Reggie in that era. Bruce Smith, an unbelievable player for the Buffalo Bills, kind of didn't really know. He wasn't the guy. He wasn't like Myles Garrett, right? He wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's going to revolutionize the NFL. But he was a first pick out of Virginia Tech and just had an unbelievable career, all-time leading sack leader in NFL history. Bruce Smith, I'm going Elway and Bruce Smith, and man, I feel pretty good about that turn. I think I did pretty well there.
No, you did great on that. I thought that you would end up getting quarterback obsessed and not get Bruce in there. So for my next pick, I will go very safe. I will go Troy Aikman. You win as many Super Bowls as he did. You do what he did with the Cowboys. That's going to make you the next one. I'm going to be very biased with my third pick, but also just greatness. I don't care about how long he played. I don't care. Again, you just want to talk about anybody that goes back. Go back on YouTube if you didn't. There was an era of my life where all I had to do was sit back and watch Bo Jackson get the football, and it was a delight. Now, it wasn't a delight for who he was drafted by, and there was obviously it's a short career with my beloved Raiders, but when you want to talk about just inability to ever chase him down, as much as I thought about taking Myles Garrett here, even though that's a very recent pick, I will be completely biased, and I will take Bo Jackson because we all know that if Bo had stayed healthy, he would have ended up being one of the all-time greats.
I mean, how do you argue with that, right? Bo Jackson, it is unbelievable. He had that path. He's the weirdest number one overall pick of all time because Buccaneers and, screwing up his eligibility at Auburn and that whole story. So is back on me. Did you make two?
Yeah, I went Aikman and Bo.
Aikman,
so my final poll is Manning, Aikman, Bo.
And we did joke before the show about is OJ Simpson eligible for this pick? So I will pass on OJ because we all know running backs are devalued. I'm going to go with Orlando Pace. I think that I remember when Orlando Pace came out of college. I was, Wisconsin guy, obviously, so paid a lot of attention to Big Ten football. And Orlando Pace was just, he invented, the term pancake was never popular before Orlando Pace. And then we found out all about it and watched the highlights of him just mauling guys. He was one of the rare tackles to go number one. And I don't think the Rams regretted that for a second. Hall of Famer, big part of that greatest show on turf. The one that never gets talked about, right? With Falk and Warner and Bruce and Holt. Well, they had one of the greatest offensive tackles of all time, too. Orlando Pace, you don't think when you draft an offensive tackle first, oh, okay, well, that's fine, I guess. It's not really that exciting. But Orlando Pace was a big, big part of what the Rams did for many years, big part of the Super Bowl run. I'll go with Orlando Pace over OJ as my last number one overall pick of all time.